Picture this. It's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. You've just survived a 10-hour gauntlet of corporate jargon, circling back on emails, and managing a project so complex it makes a NASA launch look like a game of mousetrap. You're exhausted. Your brain feels like a browser with 72 tabs open, and 3 of them are playing music you can't find. Normal people, and I use that term loosely, unwind by watching a baking competition. They want high fives and sourdough. But you aren't normal. You lock the front door, double-check it actually, slip into your favorite "don't talk to me" pajamas, and settle in. But you aren't looking for a light-hearted sitcom. You're hitting play on a 3-hour deep dive into a cold case from 1974 involving a missing heir, a mysterious car in a lake, and a handwritten note left in a library book. While the rest of the world is dreaming of cupcakes, you are leaning in, squinting at grainy black and white photos, trying to decode the exact psychological profile of a stranger who lived 50 years ago. And let's be real, society has some thoughts about us, doesn't it? If you tell a coworker you spent your Sunday researching the logistics of a jewelry heist, they look at you like you're secretly building a lair in your basement. There's this common misconception that being obsessed with true crime means you're morbid, or that you have some dark, twisted fascination with the macabre. But today, we're flipping the script, because psychologists have discovered that for people like us, it's actually the exact opposite. You aren't watching because you're attracted to the darkness. You're watching because your brain is trying to solve a high-stakes puzzle that feels essential to your internal sense of security. Welcome to the world of the proactive processor. You're not weird. You're actually just better prepared than everyone else. For decades, the experts looked at true crime fans and saw something concerning. They lumped us into categories like voyeurs or sensation seekers. They totally missed the mark. Recent research suggests that this obsession isn't a hobby. It's a sophisticated psychological tool called threat modeling. Think of your brain like a high-end smartphone. To stay functional, it needs constant background updates to defend against new malware. When you watch a story about a dangerous situation, your amygdala, that's the almond-shaped alarm center of your brain, is absolutely firing. It's sending out little pulses of, "Hey, look at this! This is bad!" But here's the magic. Because you are wrapped in a weighted blanket in the safety of your living room, you are able to process that fear without being in actual physical danger. It is a form of emotional rehearsal. You are subconsciously asking yourself, what would I do if I heard that noise? How would I escape that room? Wait, did she just ignore a major red flag at the coffee shop? You aren't looking for a villain origin story. You are looking for a survival manual. You're essentially running a disaster drill for your psyche. So the next time someone asks why you're watching that show again, just tell them you're performing a routine security patch on your central nervous system. It sounds much more professional. This brings us to a fascinating neurological concept called vicarious learning. Most people think of learning as something that happens in a boring classroom with a whiteboard and a teacher who smells like chalk. But our brains are evolutionarily wired to learn from the experiences of others, so we don't have to face those same risks ourselves. It's the "I saw someone get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, so I will not go into that cave" school of thought. When you observe a high-stakes narrative, your brain releases dopamine and adrenaline in small, controlled, artisanal doses. This creates a state of heightened encoding. This is why you can remember the exact layout of your childhood neighborhood, or the specific way a suspect in a documentary blinked when asked about their alibi, but you might forget where you put your car keys 10 minutes ago. Your brain prioritizes information it deems necessary for navigating a complex, sometimes unpredictable world. It's essentially survival trivia. You're storing away patterns of human behavior, how people gain trust, how they manipulate, and how they leave trails. You're building a mental database of what not to do. Now, I have a theory. I think your obsession isn't a sign of anxiety. It's a sign of high social intelligence. Most true crime fans have one specific case that started it all. That entry point case that made you realize you had a knack for spotting details others missed. Maybe it was a local mystery that never sat right with you, or that one podcast that kept you sitting in your car in the driveway for 40 minutes after you got home because you couldn't stop listening. I want to know, what was that case for you? Was it a famous mystery, a specific twist, or maybe a cold case from your own hometown? Tell me about your entry point in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to see if there's a pattern in what captures our collective attention first. My own was a bank heist that felt like it was scripted by a Hollywood director. Except the director forgot to account for a very observant neighbor. While you're thinking about your answer, let's talk about why we stay for the ending. There's a psychological bias called the just world hypothesis. It's this deep-seated human desire to believe that the world is a predictable, fair place where good things happen to good people and bad people get what's coming to them. True crime creates a massive cognitive dissonance because it shows us a world where that isn't always true. It shows us the glitches in the matrix. When you stay up until 2 a.m. researching a case, you are often desperately looking for the resolution phase. Psychologically, we need to see justice served. We need the puzzle pieces to snap together. That moment, when the DNA match comes back or the witness finally speaks, that releases a massive hit of dopamine. It restores our sense of order. It tells our nervous system the threat has been identified, labeled, and neutralized. The world makes sense again. You can sleep now. We aren't looking for horror. We're looking for the restoration of peace. Now, for some of us, this interest goes even deeper. It touches on what researchers call high contingency environments. Think back. Did you grow up in a household or an era where things felt a bit unpredictable? Maybe you were part of that legendary generation of latchkey kids. You came home to an empty house, handled your own snacks, and had to figure out the vibe of the room the second someone walked through the door. If that's you, your brain was trained early on to always look for the rug pull. You learned that being able to predict a consequence before it happens isn't just a party trick. It's the ultimate survival skill. For you, true crime isn't just entertainment. It's a validation of your existing worldview that says, pay attention because details matter. You aren't being cynical or paranoid when you check the back seat of your car. You're being realistic. You're honoring the kid who had to be their own bodyguard. Your interest in psychology and behavior is a way of honoring that sharp, observant part of yourself. Here's the part your extroverted friends might not get. Research suggests that people who value solitude and deep introspection often gravitate toward these solo investigative journeys. You aren't looking for the buzz of a crowded, loud party where you have to shout over bad music. You prefer the optimal stimulation of a complex problem. While you're sitting quietly with your laptop, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex logic and executive function, is basically throwing a rave. It is a whole party of mental processing happening in a silent room. You are bringing your whole self to the table, your logic, your intuition, your ethics, because you've spent time understanding the mechanics of human behavior first. You're not antisocial. You're pro-analysis. We also have to acknowledge the cultural element. In some societies, solo focus is celebrated. In others, it's seen as withdrawing. But we are finally catching up to the idea that spending hours alone researching a cold case is actually a form of social intelligence. By studying these cases, you are training your brain to see through parasocial masks. These are the versions of themselves people present to the world: the perfect neighbor, the charismatic boss, the helpful stranger, versus who they actually are under pressure. This ability to read the room and spot inconsistencies is a massive psychological advantage. You use it at work when a deal feels off. You use it in your personal life when someone's words don't match their actions. You've turned your hobby into a built-in lie detector. One of the biggest insults thrown at true crime fans is that we lack empathy. How can you watch something so sad? They ask. But look at the data. True crime fans often direct their empathy toward the victims and their families in a way most people don't. This isn't a passive feeling. It's an active, intellectual empathy. You are practicing the art of caring deeply about forgotten stories. You are the one who remembers the name of the victim when the headlines only focus on the perpetrator. People with an interest in these narratives often score higher in openness to experience. You aren't afraid of the difficult parts of the human condition. You are seeking meaning and connection in the shadows. And there is a profound, quiet resilience in that. You're saying, I see you, and your story matters, even decades later. If you find yourself constantly analyzing the why behind people's actions, you are essentially practicing a form of psychological bilingualism. You can navigate the digital, fast-paced world, but you still have the analog patience to sit with a mystery and let the details emerge slowly. You haven't lost the ability to be alone with your thoughts. You've just given those thoughts a very specific, very important job to do. In a world that is increasingly distracted, your ability to focus on a single thread until it leads to a knot is a rare gift. You aren't broken, you aren't weird, and you definitely aren't morbid. Your brain is simply wired to find restoration in the act of understanding. You find peace in the truth, no matter how complex or buried that truth might be. You are a bridge between the before and the after. You see the world not just for what it appears to be on the surface, but for the intricate, sometimes messy reality of how things actually work. This self-reliance, this ability to handle crisis scenarios in your mind, is a hallmark of your personality. You are probably the person your friends turn to when things get complicated, because they know you've already rehearsed the solution 1,000 times in your head while watching a documentary. You are the detective, the psychologist, and the survivor, all wrapped in one. To show that you're part of this community of deep thinkers and pattern spotters, I want you to do one thing. Type the word "solved" in the comments. It's a signal. It lets me know you're the kind of person who doesn't stop until the picture is complete. It lets me know you're one of us. And hey, before you go back to your research, don't forget to check the locks. Just once, for the amygdala's sake.